All right, we are live. What's up, everybody? How y'all doing out there? I am Frank Red, and this is another edition of the In the Dungeon Show. I want to thank y'all for being patient with me after getting started a couple of minutes late. But I had to make sure everything was right. And when you do that, you rush, you start to forget things, and throws you off a little bit. But I am ready to go. So excited to talk to you tonight. This is literally, sometimes I say it, and it may or may not always be true from your perspective, but I think this is the best time of the sports calendar because you have all of these different sports intersecting. And for the first time in history, the WNBA is a thing. So that's another artery in the sports highway that we can legitimately talk about and have fun with. But when you run down everything that's happening in the world of sports, the NFL is in full effect. 49er fans, a couple of them are jumping off the Golden Gate, the Bay Bridge. They've already fired Shanahan, or they want him fired by tomorrow morning based on how he's doing. And I get it because you're a fan. I would say put yourself in Shanahan's position as somebody who's coached a team and gone to the Super Bowl 2 out of the 5 years he's been here. Wow, that's tough. But I hear your concerns and I understand why you would be upset. And I took a lot of notes today on the 49ers game. And I have some interesting things to talk about with regards to Shanahan and the 49ers in general. The NFL is fair game. Any team, because I watch all the games. I watch the highlights. I'm abreast on everything. So this football in general, there's no sport like the NFL that just really captivates our attention from sun up to sundown like the NFL does. So a lot to talk about in that regard. Because Colorado was off yesterday, it's almost like college football took a weekend off. If it wasn't for the countless upsets, I think that would be the case because, like it or not, Colorado puts the spice in the game that you don't have when a guy like Nick Saban is not around anymore. Kirby Smart, great coach, energetic, but it's more about Georgia football than Kirby Smart as a personality. When we think of college football, you want to hear what Deion Sanders has to say. You want to see Shador, and certainly you want to see Travis Hunter. So they actually gained ground, I'm sure, this week by not playing. They take on Kansas State next week, and it's going to be a primetime game on ESPN Saturday night. Looking forward to that. I had the opportunity last night to make my annual trek out to Cal to watch them play. I watch one Cal game per year. This year I got lucky. I went to the Miami game last night, got an opportunity to see Cam Ward live in person. And we know the outcome. Miami came back from being 25 points down. They beat Cal. But let me start with Cal. Cal is a good football team, and they're young. And the fact that they lost a team that is being talked about as a potential national champion, the Miami Hurricanes, I don't think they are, to be honest with you. But they're good. They're definitely going to be in the playoffs. It says a lot about Cal. And I had some reservations, but they're solid. They got a lot of skilled guys on offense and defense that will ultimately play on Sundays. They got a good, solid college quarterback. And that place was packed last night. We're talking 65, 70,000 people going crazy. And Cam Ward literally snatched victory from the throats of all the Cal Bear fans out there. And impressive for his resume. But from a fan of football, it was really, really fun to watch. Not a bad seat in the house. But when we talk college football, we can do that. I've never seen an Alabama team quit. I thought they quit. You know, when it mattered most, they played the least. And the new coach has a lot to deal with in the coming week because the lose against Vanderbilt, that was highly unexpected, although Vanderbilt's a pretty good football team. I talked about West Coast teams traveling too much. USC goes to Minnesota and loses. USC should never lose to Minnesota. But it's a long roadie. Then you got Michigan going up to Washington. So we'll talk about college football. We can do that. A lot of things are happening. Got an opportunity to watch a lot of the Warriors game also. Their preseason contest against the Clippers. And I guess Leaky Waters made a three-point shot. I saw the highlight and I watched a lot of the games. If we're going to talk about the Warriors, we can do so. I think the Warriors will be one of the highest scoring teams in the NBA. They'll be fun to watch. You can infer, listening to Kerr talk about the team and about what he wants various players to do. Like he wants said player to shoot 5 threes a game, you know, because he knows that they don't really have a whole lot inside. So they got to shoot really well. On nights that the Warriors shoot the basketball, they're going to win games. On nights in which they get stuck in the mud in the half court and they got to score on the interior, they're probably not going to win. But they're going to be a fun team to watch. So all the woe is me Warrior fans out there, I would say just kind of chill out because they're going to be fine. Now, I know what some of y'all saying, yo, you hot. I am hot. This is a hot studio. The story of the day for, I'm sure, the listeners of this particular program is the 49ers losing to the Arizona Cardinal. What was it, 24-23? Let's just say this. Kyler Murray outplayed Brock Purdy. And no knock on Brock Purdy. The more I watch Brock Purdy, the more I like him as a quarterback. When he has a clean pocket, his footwork and his eyes, I mean, this dude performs like a top 5 quarterback. He really does. When he's clean. When he's not so clean and he gets sped up and he doesn't have a whole lot of daylight in front of him, you know, he becomes a good quarterback, not a elite quarterback. And it is what it is. I mean, I've never seen fans and the media, I mean, just God praises over a guy like I hear from Brock Purdy. Now, I understand it's because, you know, he was a 7th round pick. You know, I mean, he has to be the greatest 7th round pick in the history of the NFL. I don't look at him like a 7th round pick anymore. I look at him as what he is, a top tier quarterback and clearly the leader of the team. This is a game the 49ers should not have lost. But we've seen this before. We saw it against the Rams last week, and we saw it again today against the Arizona Cardinal. And I'm gonna go back to last year in the Super Bowl. And you know, for those that are tired of Kyle Shanahan, I need you to add some context to that statement. Why? Because you look at his record, he has one of the best coaching records in the NFL. He's one of the great offensive minds in the NFL. So, if you look at most set of criteria, it's unthinkable to get rid of Kyle Shanahan. But let me tell you where he stuck his chest out, and now his team is paying for it. He allegedly fired Steve Wilks, the defensive coordinator last year, because it wasn't a good fit. Is that a good enough reason to fire somebody who's one of the top defensive coordinators in all of the NFL? You fire Steve Wilks, you basically have lost 2 games that you would not have lost. That's how valuable he was as a defensive coordinator. Once he got fired, there's a lot of people who tried to build a case for him getting fired. And I would listen to the shows, I would watch them online, and I would be like, this is some bullshit. No way Steve Wilks should have been fired, to me, unless you want to bring in somebody who was better, which is why Kyle Shanahan was, effusive in his praise for Bill Belichick. Called him a gazillion times. And Bill said no. But if you're going to fire somebody like Steve Wilks, you need to have somebody online too. Not I'm going to fire him and then I'm going to kind of see what's out there in the market. This dude's one of the best defensive coordinators in all of football. The 49ers defensive linemen played with a lot of energy. The first half, they were flying around. But ultimately, when they needed to step up and make a play, they really didn't do it. They got the ball back to the 49ers, but when you think of the 49ers historically, they are like Hall of Fame level on the defensive side of the ball and on the offensive side of the ball, which is why they're one of the better organizations. Right now, the 49ers defense, middle of the pack, if that. And Sorensen, people want to get on Sorensen. I don't really know who this guy is. He's been on the staff for this year, and it's almost like he was kind of set up for failure. Because when you're the defensive coordinator and you really got a stranglehold on your players, and you guys are in it together, you can get in a guy when you need to. And it might not be pretty. I don't see Sorensen doing that. Based on the fact that he's building his resume, he doesn't have a resume. Steve Wilks has been a head coach in the NFL. He never should have got fired by Carolina. Why? Because his players play for him. We can break the games down and talk about Jordan Mason's missed block. They got Brock Purdy hit that caused him to throw the pick and concluded the game for Arizona. That's a mistake. The fumble that Jordan made, that's another mistake. Yeah, I get all of that. The 49ers are not ferocious on defense. They're not. Their offense is decent. For everybody out there who thinks that Brandon Ayuk forgot how to play football, you're wrong. I guess he learned how to play throughout the week. 8 catches for 147 yards, exquisite route running. He looks like the guy who was worthy of the contract that he received. But like a lot of people were saying, he really didn't have a preseason. So he needed some games to kind of get himself right. But I watched him today. His route running is outstanding. He's not the fastest guy in the world, but he knows how to run routes and get open. He catches balls in small windows. That's another thing about Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy has incredible timing and touch, right? But he also has the ability to throw the ball into the tightest windows and consistently see guys like Kittle, Ayuk, Debo. All these guys come up with these Jennings. All these players come up with these tough catches. So, is he good? Hell yeah, he's good. Does he have the weapons and the players around him? Do they work for each other? Yes, they do. Now, when I watch sports, I watch it from a perspective of a player and a coach, not a fan. I'm not worried about the 49ers. The 49ers are going to be fine. They're going to win their division because they're the best team. They're better than the Rams. They gave that game away. They're better than Arizona. And they're better than Seattle. Now, here's the thing. As a coach, you're asking a couple of questions. Do I know why we're losing? Check. What does the competition look like around me? Are we competing? I think the Warriors are doing all of those. I mean, the 49ers are doing all of those things. Now, here's the problem. Here's the one thing you can't control. And the Cincinnati Bengals are experiencing this now. At some point, you start to run out of games. You can't control how many games are on your schedule. Oh, we got time. We got time. We got time. At some point, you don't have time anymore. 49ers are 2-3. They get an opportunity to save their season on Thursday night against Seattle. Not going to be an easy game. They've had some serious injuries today. Brown went out of the game. Afunga went out of the game. They got some players hurt. So that's going to be tough. And they're going to need a lot of things to go right to win that game on Thursday. But I think the 49ers are going to win. I do think they're going to win. Because when I look at their losses, it was more about what they didn't do as opposed to the opposition totally outplaying them. I didn't see that. For them to lose this game today was ridiculous. They had the game. They also got to find a kicker. Moody's not going to play on Thursday. There's a lot going on in the world of sports. You want to talk 49ers, we can do so. Talk to the great Vicky. She says, I don't think the 49ers are good enough to make the Super Bowl and win it. I'm not talking Super Bowl. I mean, Vicky, they got to get to the playoffs. Playoffs? Yeah. You know. Was that targeting last night? Did the refs get it wrong? I'm glad they didn't call it. I hate that rule. I mean, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I saw a hit tonight on Justin Fields. A guy on Pittsburgh just really, I'm not talking about the guy who blindsided Justin. Or no, it was a 49ers game. Somebody hit somebody really hard. I don't remember the player now. And it's football. The one thing I saw last night that the guy did, although I didn't think that he hit him in the head area, he did launch a little bit. He did launch a little bit. And had the referees made that call, that would not have been wrong. I'm glad they didn't make the call because I wanted to see the players decide the outcome of that game. I didn't want to see some call by a referee to take a historic victory from Cal away from them in their home field. First time playing in the ACC, the last game of the day on Saturday night. Every single thirsty football fan in America was watching that game last night. And Cal outplayed Miami for 90% of the game. So I'm glad the referee didn't make that call. I didn't want to see it. I didn't think it was egregious. I thought he launched a little bit. By the letter of the law, if the ref had called it, it would not have been a horrible call by any stretch. I'm glad they didn't call it. I don't really think it was targeting. I don't think it was malicious. When I think of targeting, And I know that's not the nature of the rule. I know. But I want to see players decide games. I don't want to see referees do it unless there is a clear intent to hurt and harm a player. I didn't see that from that play. You want to see Moody play every night. I want to see Moody play every night. Vicky, I'm with you. I am a big Moses Moody fan. I think if Moses Moody was less of a professional, he would probably have a contract already. You know, he might have been traded, but he would be an NBA mainstay already with money. You know, probably got 200 acres down in Arkansas somewhere. But because he's a class act, you know, and because he plays for Steve Kerr, you know, you really never know what's going on. But I give him credit for coming out guns blazing, playing really, really well. He's got to fight for minutes also, because a lot of fans, you know, they got you either have fans like Vicky or like, yo, they're gonna win 50 games, or you have people that says the Warriors not making the playoffs. I mean, come on, they're making the playoffs. SG, what's up? How you doing? Steve-O says no Niners. What does that mean? No Niners. You don't want to hear to talk about it, or what? What do you mean? Key says, what's up, Frank? I think Shanahan was way too pass happy this game. Purdy wasn't getting it done, and defense is a joke. Can't stop anybody when it counts. Yeah, I mean, I hear you, Key, but Jordan Mason had a horrible fumble, a costly fumble. So it wasn't like he didn't run the ball at all. They were running the ball. And I love watching Brock Purdy throw the ball. I have no problem with him throwing the ball. And with that said, Kyler Murray outplayed Brock Purdy in today's game. And what was interesting is this. Kyler Murray has taken a lot of strays over the past couple of years. Bad body language, you know, a lot of losing. Doesn't appear to be the best leader aesthetically, at least in the past. He looks pretty good right now. Maybe he's maturing. But when you look at Kyler Murray, don't you think to yourself, if this guy was playing for a high-level coach, he might be an all-pro, because he's talented as hell. He throws a beautiful ball, not always accurate, but he can be accurate. But he throws some laser shots, very catchable ball. His ball looks a lot like Brock Purdy's ball, to be quite honest with you. But what he has that Brock doesn't have is not only that escapability, but you can run your offense around him running the football. And he doesn't run towards people for contact. He runs around and by people like the road runner or something. He's a special talent. He really is. Now, give Arizona some credit, because defensively, those players were in the film room. They knew what the 49ers were going to do. Jordan Mason likes to run consistently to the left side of the center in the A gap. And Arizona, Buda Baker, those guys were ready. He didn't go crazy today because they did a good job preparing for the 49ers. He rarely ever runs to the right. The 2 or 3 times that Shanahan called running plays to the right with Mason, he was successful. So the 49ers have some tendencies that they need to address in a hurry, because once film is out on you, and give Arizona credit, they were prepared to play the 49ers. The 49ers should have won this game simply because they're better. But it wasn't because Arizona wasn't prepared. They were prepared. And they outplayed the 49ers. Jimmy says, what happened to the 49ers play action in bootleg game? All their running plays period dropped back, it seems. I think that's a worthy point. But here's the thing. As a defense, when you commit yourself to stopping the run and you're not worried about what's happening on the back end, play action doesn't really work. And as good as Jordan Mason is, I don't think that they are all that concerned about him catching the ball consistently out of the backfield like they are with McCaffrey. So that's a factor. And sometimes defenses just sell out. And they say to themselves, you know what? If we play our best and they play their best, they're going to beat us. So we got to take some chances. We got to execute our game plan. And that's what Arizona did. They executed their game plan. They hugged the line of scrimmage. They didn't really sack Brock Purdy. They just put pressure on them. They worked their asses off. That's what they did. And when you look at the high-priced 49ers defensive line versus Arizona, it was basically a draw. The 49ers defensive line versus Arizona, it was basically a draw. And that's been the 49ers' biggest challenge this year. The costly turnovers, the picks, all those things play a role. But I'm used to the 49ers defensive line just lighting opposing quarterbacks up. And that's just not happening this year. So, it's a year-to-year proposition. That's okay. You got to win your division. Because when I look at the NFL this year, I say, well, who's the biggest star this year? It's attrition. The league as a whole has gotten better. And the games are far more competitive now than they were in previous years. You can look at the 49ers in the past and go, a division title, we got that. Check. We got a couple of home games in the playoffs. You can't say that this year. You can't. You know? I actually like it like this. Because I want to see who's going to step up. And all of this conversation around what Brock Purdy is worth, he can kill all that noise by literally leading this team to a successful season. Does that mean they'll make the Super Bowl? I don't know about that. Can they? Sure they can. But for him to lose a player of the year, we don't know if Christian McCaffrey's coming back. We don't know that. You know, the one thing that I will say, though, that the 49ers jumped too fast by putting Elijah Mitchell on injured reserve for the whole year. Wouldn't you love to have him? He has a 1,000-yard back, and he's gone for the whole year. He can't come off injured reserve. Unless he's like hurt to the extent that he cannot come back, then I get it. But it seems like that was kind of a roster move that the 49ers were willing to make. I don't know. Maybe some of you guys can educate me on that. But I'm like, I'm not putting Elijah Mitchell on injured reserve for the entire year just because he's so damn good, or I can trade him if I need to, like they've done in the past. Vicky says, what do you think the Dodgers do you think the Dodgers will fire Dave Roberts if they don't win the World Series? No, I don't. I think if they don't make the World Series, then he could get fired. But if they make it to the World Series, I don't think he'll get fired. I don't think so. I think they love the guy. He is kind of a Dodger type personality, kind of above the fray. Good manager, players like him, all that good stuff. But Vicky, I really like baseball, but unless the Dodgers are playing the Yankees in the World Series, I'm not all that interested. Like a lot of sports fans, If they play in the World Series, then I'm showing up for that. I'm showing up for that because I'm thinking about 1977, 1978, Reggie Jackson, Charlie Huff, those types of players. I want to see that. I do. What do you think? You think if we don't make it to the World Series, will Dave Roberts get fired? How do you feel, Vicky? Love to get your comments on that. Gwendoses, what's up, Frank? Great, entertaining Warriors preseason game. After watching the Warriors still deliberately need some size. Yeah, they do. But acknowledge what they're doing. They got their books in order. They probably saved about $200 million this year. That's not nothing. They're going to win maybe 3 more games this year than they did last year, or about the same. And they're going to be fun as hell. Remember when I kept telling you all about DeAnthony Milton? Remember I told you how good he was? You see that kid now? I mean, if Pods had these grandiose plans of playing 30-plus minutes a game, starting next to his idol, Stephen. I don't know if that's his idol or not, but I know he admired Stephen. He got to play because DeAnthony Milton is a two-way player. He's a 3-and-D guy. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. Long arms, 6'3". The Warriors have wanted to sign him for like 5-6 years. He was the first Jalen Suggs. And what I mean by that is because I know basketball and I know the Warriors love Jalen Suggs. They love him. They would love for Jalen Suggs to be the successor to Stephen Curry. They would love that. Whether or not it's going to happen, I have no idea. But they've admired DeAnthony Milton for a long period of time. I'm going to see if Steve Kerr is going to extend his defense because he got enough guards to the point where he could really extend his defense. So that's going to be interesting to me. Evo said, they said, separate pool, who knows? I guess you're talking to somebody else. I don't know what this means. They said sever pool, but what does that mean, dude? All right. Key said, do you think Kyle Anderson can be an effective small ball center for us? No, I don't. He's not a great rebounder. And he's not a great post player. So, to be a small ball 5, you got to be Draymond-esque. And Draymond is a physical rebounder. Kyle Anderson is not. Kyle Anderson is not even that strong. What Kyle Anderson is a really high IQ player. Very high IQ facilitator, kind of a streaky shooter, but small ball 5. They might try him at that, but I don't think so. He's not really a perimeter shooter. I see him literally playing as many as 4 positions on the Warriors. A little point, a little 2, a little 4, and a little 5. But to be designated as a small ball 5, no, I don't think so. What's up, John? This is new. The Toronto Raptors and the NHL. It's a fragment. Help me out a little bit. Can you finish the sentence? Ask me a question. I'll give you an answer. Thank you for joining the program. I appreciate you. Vicky says, who can the Warriors get with size? I love what I'm seeing from Milton. Okay. This is who the Warriors can get. Lauri Markkanen. I was not a fan of the Warriors signing Lauri Markkanen as a free agent. I didn't want that to happen. But now that Utah signed Larry Marketing, the second half of the year, the Warriors theoretically can trade Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, one of those players, and package them to Utah with a first-round pick and get Lauri Markkanen in return. Because he's still not long for Utah. Utah's not going to win in the near future. They signed Lauri Markkanen as a chip. And just like I'm talking about acquiring him with a designated number, other teams will be looking at the same thing. Maybe there's a three-way deal between another team. But I would love to see the Warriors now, if he goes out in the first half of the year and scores 25 to 27 points a game, and he looks the part, then I'm all for the Warriors acquiring Lauri Markkanen. Then you'll have Draymond. Lauri Markkanen is 7 feet tall. But you're potentially keeping Kuminga, or they might have to trade Kuminga. I don't know. A lot of that depends upon how well Wiggins plays. But Lauri Markkanen in a Warrior uniform takes them up to a whole nother level. But I didn't want to sign him as a free agent. Didn't want to do that. What do you think about that? I think that's pretty cool. SG says, "Hi Frank, how are you doing tonight?" I'm all right, man. Do you really care? No, you don't care. I'm reading this book on coaching and about like building relationships. And one of the things that this expert says that you don't do, and I've been coaching for a long time, it's like you shouldn't ask fake questions because it's dismissive and it doesn't really build relationships. It doesn't. You know, I'm not saying it's malicious. I'm just saying that if you're going to be a coach, if you're going to really build a relationship with someone, sincerity is at the heart of that. I know you guys agree with this. All right? I haven't introduced myself. Have I introduced myself yet? I'm Frank Red. What's up, everybody? How y'all doing out there? This is the In the Dungeon show. Subscribe to the show if you like what you hear. Follow me on X. I don't know. It's boring for me to just like incessantly promote the show. Please subscribe. Please. I mean, you know what? For things that I like, sometimes I subscribe to them. Not because someone really asked me to do it. I mean, you know. I just want to engage in real conversation. And I think that's what we're doing here. So thank you. I really appreciate you. The Warriors play SAC on Wednesday night. I can't wait to see that game. Because unlike every other sport, the NBA actually, the preseason actually looks like a real game. They play there. I mean, were you all surprised as I was to see Stephen Curry play as much as he did last night? And David Lillard playing as much as he did tonight? I was like, whoa. These dudes are ramping it up. Regular season, let's go, baby. Key says, I hope the Padres beat the Dodgers. That would be sweet. Not for Dave Roberts. I hear you, though. I ain't mad at that. Vicky says, I want to see how Sacramento looks. Vicky, like I said before, if Sacramento isn't one of the top 4 seeds this year, forget about being a top 4 seeds. If they don't win an opening round playoffs this year, Mike Brown is out of there. Because that is one of the best jobs in the NBA. The city of Sacramento loves that team. The city is growing. It's becoming more metropolitan than it ever has been. The Golden One Arena is one of the best arenas in the NBA. Sight lines are incredible. And they got talent. There's no reason why they shouldn't win an opening round playoff series. Maybe even make it to the finals. That's how talented they are. I also want to introduce the fact that I was a little conflicted today because I'm a New York Liberty fan, right, in the WNBA. But I admire the Aces too. I like to see the Aces, which meant I didn't really have to root for anybody. Even though I'm a Liberty fan and Sabrina Ionescu is my favorite player, I kind of wanted to see a Game 5. But the Liberty took it to the Aces. And they played like they wanted to win a championship. They played like they were still smarting from the Game 5 loss on their home, or Game 4 loss on their home court in the finals last year against the Aces. And it was beautiful because they were all business. The Aces tried to rough them up a little bit, and Breanna Stewart and Sabrina would have none of it. And I think that they're poised to win a championship. The Connecticut Sun beating the Minnesota Lynx in 4 games was a bit of a surprise to me. I didn't see that coming. Connecticut's never won a championship. I don't think they ever have. They made it to the finals multiple times. If the Liberty doesn't win the WNBA championship this year, it would be tougher than losing the finals last year because I think that they're better. They're definitely more talented. I mean, as good as Caitlin Clark is, Sabrina Ionescu to me is the best point guard in the league. To me, when I look at point guard. As she says, thoughts on the game-winning three-pointer by Lindy Waters. The third in Hawaii when they play. I mean, it's preseason. Nobody cares, right? You want to see skill development. You want to see players who can potentially be in the rotation. But who wins that game? Nobody cares. I mean, I guess the fans in Hawaii care, or little kids watching the Warriors who are fans of the team. Maybe they care. But no adult basketball fan with decent knowledge should care about who wins a preseason game. Doesn't matter. It was exciting, but nobody cares who won. Vicky says, Mike Brown would go back to the Warriors and take over for Steve when he is done if Mike gets fired. Vicky, you're coming up with some. Vicky, you need your own show. All right, you really do, because that's not a hot take. That is keen analysis. The Warriors would be more than happy to have Mike Brown as the successor to Steve Kerr. I totally agree with you. But I think Mike Brown wants to make his own way. But that's a great call. That's a great call. It really is. So we'll see what happens. One of the things about making $10 million a year, I think people like to do it. So, this idea that Curry's just kind of ride off into the sunset, I don't know. I think he kind of likes his job, especially now when he doesn't have to worry about coaching the Olympics. He can actually have an off season. Got that monkey off his back. So it wouldn't surprise me if Kerr stuck around as long as Stephen Curry sticks around. Now when Stephen goes, I think Kerr's going to go. But I think Stephen Curry holds a lot of those cards. as it relates to Steve Kerr. Keith said, I heard Looney lost some weight. Do you anticipate a bounce back year? No, I don't. I think he did lose some weight. I think he's in better shape. But, I mean, dude is almost a decade in now. Looney came in with kind of an old, young body. He's played damn near 10 years in the NBA. I would be pleasantly surprised if he was a really solid contributor this year. He knows how to play. One of the things about Looney that really bothers me, and this is my bugaboo with most NBA players, dude doesn't shoot 70% from the free throw line. He needs to shoot 70% from the free throw line. If he shoots 70%, he would be a more effective player, probably average 2 or 3 more points a game, which would help the team win more games. Yeah, SG, I'm not reading that about Lindy Waters. I'm not reading that, man. That's absurd. Looney needs to make his free throws. Thank you, Vicky. I agree with you. I got a thing, SG. If you don't say something intelligent, I'm not reading what you say. I can't do that. I can't. I mean, come on, man. Somebody give me an update on the Steelers game. Is that game over yet? If so, who won? Although I could probably check it right quick. Let me see. Okay. Oh. Wow. Steelers are up 17-13. Dallas is 4th and goal. What do you think is going to happen? No, I didn't miss your comment, SG. I'm not going to read it. The game's not over yet, though, right? Pittsburgh is still up. Yeah. I checked the score. I know they're winning, but I guess Dallas has an opportunity to win the game. I got a hot take about Dallas. If I'm the Dallas Cowboys, and this probably is not going to happen. If I'm the Dallas Cowboys, I walk away from CeeDee Lamb. I'll try to trade CeeDee Lamb to the Raiders for Devontae Adams straight up. I would do that in a second because he and Dak Prescott clearly don't like each other. And maybe that was behind Jerry Jones trying to decide who he was going to pay. Because they don't like each other. Guru, one of the top sportscasters, radio guys in the Bay Area, I've been talking to Guru and I've been friends for a long time. And we send messages back and forth to each other. And he told me 5 years ago, he was like, yo, Red, Dak can't play against zone defenses in the red zone. I was like, what do you mean? I'm a big Dak guy. He was like, yo, dude, he can't read defenses against the zone. That interception that he threw tonight, where CeeDee Lamb just kind of went down there and, didn't really try. It was probably a misread by Dak because I think he felt that Dak was going to curl towards the end zone line. And he thought the CeeDee Lamb was going to curl towards the out of bounds line. And he didn't. He just kept running straight. And Pittsburgh was in the zone. And Dak threw the ball right to the guy. It was ridiculous. But too many times I've seen Dak throw a bad ball or towards CeeDee Lamb, and CeeDee Lamb not really fight for the ball. I've seen that too many times. I saw it last year when Dallas lost to Green Bay. And now that Dallas has committed so much money to both players, they can't have that. They can't. Whoa. So the Cowboys gonna win this game, huh? That's a tough loss by Pittsburgh. That's a tough loss. Vicky says, this is what it seems. I feel bad for that. Yeah, I'm mad. I didn't want Dak to resign. I wanted Dak to go somewhere else, go to a competing team. But he's in Dallas. He's not going anywhere now. So Pittsburgh, Dallas game's over now. Pittsburgh is going to lose 19-17. Is that what it looks like? Let me know when the game's over. One of the things I've noticed this past week that I want to put out there, I think that like some of the network analysts on some of these shows, because they make money, a lot of money, or they're so happy to be in the position that they're in, the idea of them taking an alternative opinion that's based on some keen observations is a rarity. Most people just kind of fall into whatever someone else's take is. It irks the hell out of me. But what do I mean by that? Can we stop comparing Jaden Daniels' success to Caleb Williams? Just because Jaden Daniels is playing well, it doesn't mean that Caleb Williams sucks. Why do they always do that? Why can't both players play well? They always want to pit this player versus that player, and it's ridiculous. I saw Caleb Williams make about 3 or 4 plays last week. I didn't have to look at his overall stat. I just saw him make 3 or 4 throws last week, and I was like, okay, this kid is getting better. This kid has it. And today he put it all together. I think both of these guys are going to be outstanding quarterbacks. And it's not necessary to go on a show and, well, Chicago should have drafted Jaden Daniels. Why? Why? Can only one team have a really good quarterback? It's just absurd to me. And next thing you know, you got somebody going, yeah, man, Jaden's better. We don't know if he's better or not. We have no idea. You think Indianapolis wasn't happy to have Peyton Manning just because New England has Brady? It's ridiculous. Now, I also wanted to talk about the Carolina Panthers. That sugar high, that Carolina was on. Hold for 1 second, let me check it out. Yeah, you go. This is no knock on Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton has had a fantastic career. He was a 2nd round pick out of TCU. Was a starter for a long period of time. But anybody who's watched Andy Dalton play football over the past 10 plus years knew that this dude was not the answer. And for Carolina to undress Bryce Young, kill his confidence, to me was a big mistake. So I don't know what they think they're going to do now. They're going to go back to Bryce. How is this going to help Bryce? Sit him down for a couple of weeks? Man, I don't, And then the coach goes, it wasn't like they explained things, say, no, you know what? We still got confidence in Bryce Young, but he's taking a lot of hits. We want to sit him down for a couple of weeks, and then we'll come back to him. Andy Dalton's our quarterback moving forward. Oh, yeah? That's your quarterback moving forward. And the guy who you made a $40 million investment on, you just devalued him. I've heard NFL analysts say now that you would be lucky to get a second-day pick for Bryce Young now. Somebody's going to give Carolina a fifth-round pick and a bag of donuts for Bryce Young, and he's going to go somewhere else and shine in an infrastructure that actually is worth a damn. Some of these organizations eat themselves with bad management. He says, after Dallas, Denver, and OKC, I think the West is even. If Warriors stay healthy, do you believe they can attain a 6th seed or better? Absolutely. I've been saying that for 6 months, Keith. Why? Because the Warriors are smarter than most teams. They are very brainy on the court. The Kyle Andersons of the world, the DeAnthony Miltons of the world, Stephen, Draymond, Wiggins, Podzinski, they got smart guys. So yeah, I mean, if the Warriors get a 6th seed, I expect them to beat the 3rd seed. Do I expect them to be a top 4 seed? No, I don't. But this is going to be a fun year, in my opinion, for the Golden State Warriors. I think it's going to be an easier year for Stephen Curry because they got better guards. And playoff basketball is different than the regular season. So some of those, quote, top seeds can potentially lose early because they're not used to the playoffs. Vicky thinks the Warriors are going to be a 5th seed. That's not out of bounds. That could happen. Glendocious, how do you feel Moses Moody will fit into the Warriors' equation this year with such a guard, small forward, heavy team? I think Moses Moody is going to have to play 2 positions, small forward and 2 guard. I never saw him as a pure 2 guard. I think he's 6'6" with long arms. Some people say 6'5". I think he's a wing. And I think everything with Moses Moody is going to be predicated on him shooting between 38 and 40% from the 3-point line. And watching him Saturday night, his release appears to be a little quicker, and his mentality to just shoot the damn ball and not worry about anything appears to be less cluttered. He's a good player. Now, good players have to distinguish themselves from each other because Kerr can only play 8 or 9 guys a night. This idea that NBA coaches, like college coaches, like high school coaches, can play 10 guys, it's ridiculous. They can't. If you go on a long roadie, yeah, guys can get some minutes. Stephen Curry takes a night off against, well, he's not going to take a night off against Charlotte, but that would be an ideal team. The Wizards, take the night off against the Wizards, and it opens up an opportunity for somebody else to play. I'm rooting like hell for Moses Moody. Big Moses Moody fan. That dude is a straight class act. Now, Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Did you hear the reporter's question to Draymond about how the fans were concerned about him? Yeah, I wanted to know who that reporter is. Because here's the deal, Vicky. Maybe I don't know as many now because I haven't been as close to it. But generally speaking, you get to know all of the reporters, the beat writers, the radio hosts. They all have relationships with the Warriors. They all do. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean that they can't be reasonably objective, but nobody in the market really wants to be on the bad side of a professional team. Nobody. So it doesn't mean that you don't ask professional and intelligent questions, because you do. But when you're trying to get a rise out of somebody, everybody knows it. I don't know who this reporter was, but I thought he was egging Draymond on a little bit. And because Draymond understands media, and he's damn good at it, he played catch with him for a couple of minutes. Can the team depend on you? Can they depend on you to do this? And Draymond's like, well, I think me being myself has been pretty damn good. How many rings you got? By the way, what is your name? Not a horrible question, but he was trying to egg Draymond a little bit. I thought it was funny. I mean, most media types are just grinders. They work their tails off for not a whole lot of money. And then, after a while, you become who you are and you have a decent little lifestyle. So I don't know who that reporter was. I did see it. It almost got uncomfortable. It didn't. It's kind of interesting content. But it could have gotten really weird really quickly. I'm glad it did. Who do you get more minutes? Who gets more minutes? Moody or Pods? Well, I know who's going to get more opportunities. That's the question, Keys. The question isn't who's going to get more minutes. The question is who's going to get more opportunities. And as much as I think Kerr respects Moody, I think he would literally adopt Pods. So that guy he has 13 lives. We got to get Pods on the floor. I mean, so life is political, man. Life is very, very political. And so I think the only way that Moody gets more minutes is if he goes out there and he shoots 40% from three-point line. And really causes Kerr to play his hand. Because Kerr, from a mental perspective, he loves the hell out of Pods. Just loves him. And he's looking through a lens that most of us can't see. And, it sucks, but that's kind of how it is. So I think Pods will get more opportunities, but I think Moses Moody, because he's contract eligible, he is a trade candidate to me. There's some teams out there that would love to have Moses Moody, especially one that's making 40% of his three-point shots. So time will tell. His dad was a reporter. I can't think of his name. Whose dad, Vicky? Whose dad you talking about? Oh, was that Cohen? Lyle Cohen? Was that Grant Cohen? Was that him? Why doesn't who want Moody to play? Is that Kerr? Was that Grant Cohen talking about? Oh, Steve. I heard him give a response about why Moody doesn't play last year, I believe. And it wasn't like it was wrong. He had some things to say about Moody with regards to his release being slow, with regards to him losing confidence, not being really aggressive out on the court. I think he made some really valid points, Steve Kerr. And my only thing about Kerr was this. Do you hold everybody to the same criteria that you hold Moses Moody to, that you play? The answer is no, he doesn't. He wouldn't like my question because he knows that that's not the case. Certain players get more opportunities than others based on who a coach likes and who they don't like. Kind of like society. That's how it is. So, Moody has to literally play his way into the lineup. Oh, wow. Vicky says, when Moody is on the floor, I see a basketball player. When I see Pods on the floor, I see a guy. Ouch, babe. Here's the thing. Pod's going to bring something new to the table. Because on Saturday night, remember when he was trying to do that little bumper car thing where, that Chris Paul gets away with, and Stephen sometimes, where the guys run up their back and they kind of throw the ball up and get to the line? He tried to do that a couple of times, and the referee was like, yeah? Who are you? Go run back down on defense. I'm not calling that crap. So, Bob Fitzgerald made a keen observation about Podzinski as well. He was like, it looks like his elbow's a little tighter and his release point is higher and he's getting his shot up. That's what he needs to do. He needs to lean into his Dante DiVincenzo. That's what he needs to do. Because those superstar type calls in which you get nicked a little bit in the lane, he's not getting those calls. He got to go out and outplay DeAnthony Milton. That's what he needs to do. You know why? Because Kurt loves DeAnthony Milton. Loves him. You don't go out and sign a guy coming off an injury that played, I believe, 29 games last year. What, $10 million? They love DeAnthony Milton. Glenn Dosha says, I agree. Moses Moody would love to pull a JK and cuss out Steve Kerr or go to the media to get proper minutes. But it isn't in Moody's nature. I agree with you. He just come outside. Mom, dad, raised him right, all that stuff. I'm a Moses Moody fan. But if he was nastier, a little less professional, it would probably help him. Because here's the deal about the Bay Area. I don't know any players who have come to the Bay Area to play for the Warriors who didn't like the experience, class act organization, literally creme de la creme, among the best run sports organizations in all of sports. Kind of like the Oakland A's. The Warriors run a close second to the Oakland A's. No. I got to draw something. The Warriors treat you like class. They do. Even when Chris Cohan owned the team, the organization was well run. Cohan just didn't care about winning. But the people who worked for the Warriors, chef kiss, great people. As I digress, Moody, I'm sure, likes being in this organization, but it's about securing your financial future at this point. Moody would go to Utah in a second if they gave him a nice contract. He doesn't care where he goes. You got to get paid. Once you get paid, you can start thinking about geography and all the other stuff. But right now, when you're a young player like a Moses Moody, your fourth year, a Jonathan Kuminga, you want to get that bag. That's your priority. Get the bag. Aragon, I'm doing fantastic, man. You see me, man? I'm shining, bro. How you doing? He says, anyone you like for NBA Rookie of the Year? Yeah. Reed Shepherd. I love Shepherd. Man, listen. I'm going to say this. Reed Shepherd is a combination. Don't look at the numbers. I was going to say Pistol Pete Maravich, but I'm not going to say that. Pistol Pete Maravich was really prolific. Reed Shepherd, I believe, will be a better player than Mark Price. For those of you who are too young to have seen Mark Price play, do some research. Mark Price was a straight-up baller. Reed Shepherd, ooh, that dude is going to make people look silly this year. All the basketball people loved him. San Antonio wanted him so badly that they just drafted Robert Dillingham, who they liked, and traded him to Minnesota for future compensation because they were like, the guy's a good player, but he's not the quintessential point guard that we want. Reed Shepherd will win Rookie of the Year this year. Vicky says, I think fans should yell Moody, Moody, Moody every game. Yeah, but you gotta be careful, Vicky, because it could sound like booty, booty, booty. So you gotta be careful. But I get your point. DJ Vinus, what's up? In the house. Hey, what's up, Frank? Do you think Oakland will ever get a professional sports team, professional sports again? Sadly, no. I don't think so. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I think behind the scenes, the other major sports owners in the Bay would fight against them to get it. That's how cold-blooded this business is. And that's terrible because the East Bay, particularly Oakland, you talk about one of the finest fan bases in the world. But if you're the 49ers, do you really want another team 25 miles from where you are, from 40 miles? No, you don't. Because people will have babies, children will continue to be born, and they will be, mommy, daddy, I want a jersey. Oh, I'm 49ers. Every 49er jersey sold in Northern California is one less Raider jersey sold. I think the San Francisco Giants are really sad to see the Oakland A's vamoose. No, they're not. You think Laker wants to see an expansion NBA team playing in the East Bay? Hell no. So the community loses because, again, you're talking about one of the great fan bases in all of sport. So sadly, I would say no. And it really bothers me to say that. All right, let me get into this. Let's not really talk about with regards to college football because Colorado didn't play. There's no dominant team in college football this year. There really isn't. So, you almost need, the new iteration of how you reach a national champion. You need 12 teams because there's not one dominant team in college football this year. The stars. Very few stars, very few dominant teams. I don't know. It's Ohio State. Are they dominant? I don't think so. There's something that bothers me about the black dye and the mustache of the Ohio State coach. What's his name? I don't have a problem with people using dye. If that's what you do, there's nothing wrong with that. But dude looks like he uses tar. Have you ever seen, it's almost like I'm not going to use that analogy because it's sensitive. But you've seen when people just use black paint on their face. It's just, I don't know if you guys have noticed that. It just looks really weird to me. It really does. Keith says, Niners need to trade for defensive help. We might not even make the playoffs. Well, I'm going to say this, Keith. You better win Thursday. You better win Thursday. After Thursday, they could be 3-3. You put together 3-4 game winning streak, and you're okay. But Thursday's game is the biggest game of the year, and the 49ers are lucky because they only have to sit with this horrible defeat for a couple of days. He says, with NIL money going around, maybe college football is even more what? Oh, okay, even more even. That's a good point, but I don't see the great coaches in college football. I just don't. I don't see those dominant personalities that used to be there, which is why who's the guy on Fox Sunday Morning Football? Coach Jacksonville at Florida. I can't think of his name right now. I think he might be back. I see John Gruden is doing podcasts now. John Gruden might figure a way into, kind of network his way into college football. He might. Why? Because John Gruden is a star. And he's a good football coach. But he is a star. College football is devoid of stars right now, which is ironic when you consider the money. But they lack stars, man. Vicky says, that's why I think the 49ers would want to hire Sanders. The buzz would be off the charts. I hope not. Now, are there coaches who are not experts at a particular area? Yeah. I think Mike Tomlin's greatest character trait is he is a great leader of men. He was a DB coach when he worked for Tony Dungy in Tampa Bay. He's been one of the most successful coaches in NFL history. John Harbaugh was a special teams coach when he worked for Andy Reid in Philadelphia. All he's done is go to Baltimore and win a Super Bowl and again become one of the great coaches of his era. So I don't think you have to be the quote offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator, but you need to be a great leader of people. So is Deion Sanders that? I don't know. I like Deion Sanders in college. And I mean, I want him to prove that he can master this domain. Once he does that, I think anything is possible. But I would hate to see him go to the NFL and fail. I would hate to see that. All right, so let me get into the Joker, the movie The Joker. I put this on Twitter. Maybe some of you have read it before. The movie is horrible. Okay? If you compare The Joker to the first one, it's really bad. The movie was two movies within one. Harley Quinn is not she's not an interesting character. She's not. Which is why Robbie's movie failed. You know, she's not interesting. She was even less interesting in this movie. She was privileged, a privileged psychopath who was in love with a person, the Joker, who he thought was bad, you know what, crazy. And what she realized was this dude was torn. He was actually Fleck. That's who he was. And he wanted to be Fleck, but he was torn by this alter ego, the Joker. And when she couldn't fantasize about being with the Joker, then she wanted no part of him. That's not an interesting character to me. Todd Phillips, the director of the latest Joker movie, I think he wanted no more. I think he wanted to rid himself of the Joker. And to do that, he had to make a horrible movie to do it. He was like, I'm done with it. Because I think from an artistic standpoint, when you look at the first Joker, it was absolutely brilliant. He took something and he took nothing and made something. Nobody saw that coming. But I don't think that he wanted the Joker to be Iron Man. He didn't want to do that. He's like, I made you $1 billion off of the first movie. And you want to turn this into an ATM machine. I'm not going to do it. And I think Joaquin Phoenix was in step with him. And collectively, they said, you know what? Let's just do what the hell we want to do. Does it work? No, it doesn't. But we're going to do what we want to do. Now, what I will say is this. Joaquin Phoenix is one of the greatest actors of all time. What this guy is willing to do for a character is as good as anybody who's ever done this. And in this movie, if you just go to this movie and say, you know what, I want to see an example of brilliant character study bestowed upon me for 2 hours and 11 minutes, then maybe you'll go, you know what, this was worth it. But if you're looking for a conventional story, beginning, middle, end, climax, you'll be very disappointed. But from a character perspective, Harvey Fleck, I think it was Harvey Fleck, was interesting. And that was just because of Joaquin Phoenix. What a brilliant actor. I think the director, Todd Phillips, is talented. But this is not a good movie. It's not. I love movies. I've written screenplays before. I'm in the process of writing one now. I was disappointed. So I didn't give away a whole lot. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't go see it. Go see it. That's what you want to do. But don't go to this movie expecting to see a continuum of the first movie because they're clearly not the same. Universes apart. That's how different they are. Thanks for the movie update. I won't go see it now. Sometimes I question, Vicky, how do I do talking about movies? How do I do? Do I do a decent job of explaining what my perspectives are on movies? I don't know. All right, we got about 4 minutes. This flew by. It's just so much fun, man. I love doing the show. Where do you think Devontae is going to land? That's something I'm interested in hearing your perspective. Now Dallas, obviously, I don't know what happened tonight, the end of the game. Maybe CeeDee Lamb played a pivotal role in Dallas winning tonight. I have no idea. Vicky says, yes, you do a marvelous job. Oh, as a movie reviewer. Thank you. I was thinking about this today also. If somebody wants to contact me, DM me on X or Twitter and talk about this movie, we can do 30 minutes. We can do that. Because I'm interested in getting someone else's perspective who really likes to go see movies. But I couldn't recommend this movie to people to spend money on. I couldn't do that. But if you're going to go see it anyway, or if you have seen it and you want to do a show, a 30-minute show on this movie and talk about it, I would love to do that. All right? So hit me up. He says, any thoughts on Buster Posey trying to turn things around for the Giants? I don't want Buster Posey without Brian Sabian. If he's on the phone to get Brian Sabian back, I'm down with that. But Buster Posey, in just being Buster Posey, I'm not all that excited about that. Buster Posey is also a owner, so that might be a little conflict. But I like him setting a standard of excellence for the organization. But bring Brian Sabian back. Let Brian Sabian be the general manager. Turn this thing around. I like those two as a team. I can't think of my guy's name, Brian Sabian's right-hand man, who was the general manager of the Dodgers most recently. I actually was on the show with him with Larry. Why can't I think of his name? Great guy. Oh, Ned Coletti. Thank you, Vicky. See how you bailed me out, Vicky? I love it. How long did it take you to get home last night? Not that long, because I had a plan. I went with a great friend of mine. He and I generally go to one game per year together. And his wife takes us to a designated stop, and we walk, and she picks us up at the same spot, and we're in and out of there. So it probably took me about 30 minutes. That's it. Yep, pretty cool. Yes, Vicky, Buster is a great face. Yes, he is. I think what Buster does is he reeks integrity. And the Giants are a wonderful organization, community-oriented, all of that stuff. That doesn't always equate to winning baseball games. So I would love to see a redo of Brian Sabian and Ned Coletti with Buster Posey being the president. I would love that. I really would. Those games are so long. Were those college football games? Yeah, they are long. They are. But last night was was actually perfect. I literally could have got a blanket and slept there at that stadium. The weather was unbelievable. As hot as it was probably around 70 degrees. The lighting, national television. That was Cal's moment, and they couldn't quite close it. But I got to give Cal a lot of credit. Cal looks like a bowl team to me. They really do. I had reservations about Justin Wilcox, but I think that he's the right guy for the job. And salute. Andrew the GOAT. Alabama got embarrassed last night. Yeah, they did. And the thing about it, Andrew, have you ever seen an Alabama defensive line get torched like that by an also-ran? I mean, Vanderbilt's quarterback is a good little player, but after you fake the ball and run it, I mean, how many times can a little slow guy run past you like that? I thought they quit. I've never seen an Alabama team quit like that before. Can you imagine if Saban was a coach and that happened? It wouldn't happen. That was horrible. Wow. And I think this is a New York Liberty's year. Oh yeah, me too. You saw Sabrina. I think Sabrina and Brianna, they see the Knicks taking over the city. They're like, okay, let us show you how it's really done. We rep in Brooklyn. We rep in New York, but we rep in Brooklyn. Yeah, man. If the Liberty don't win a championship, I will be mildly affected by that because it's their year. I mean, to see a guy like Jason Sudeikis traveling all around the universe to support these young ladies, they got fans. They had a watch party. I'm a big WNBA fan, man. Love it. You saw my tweet, right? I mean, again, why didn't they call timeout? Alabama before the 2-minute timeout. Why? That made zero sense. It's almost like he froze. That was bad. Sabrina, right? Playing really well today. Yes, she did a thing. Go Liberty. Yeah, Caden DeBoer got a wake-up call last night for Alabama. You know what? You can have one of those losses in your career. You can't have too many of those and expect to be the Alabama coach. That was a terrible effort. Give Vanderbilt credit, but Alabama didn't show up. It's one thing to lose. Teams lose. But not showing up, that's never acceptable. Never. SG says, I love Ionescu. Good for you. I really admire her as a player. All right. I always get excited to think about how the like button activity is evolving on the show, because I can't see it looking through this particular screen. But hopefully you all have hit the like button if you like the show, and the subscribe button if you are not already a subscriber. Follow me on X, Twitter. I like to get down throughout the week. Vicky says Cal has a number of those losses, meaning when he was at Washington. First loss of the year at Alabama. Andrew said a lot of Warrior fans are saying that Gary Payton might be the odd man out. Yeah, he might be. Yep. I think you got to think that way, and it's up to him to reinvent a role for himself because he really hasn't played over the past couple of years. And I'm not going to arbitrarily say that he doesn't have a spot on the Warriors because he's proven time and time again that he can create a spot for himself. I mean, he's a defensive oddity. No one on the team brings the level of defensive pressure that Gary Payton II can bring. So I think it's up to him to distinguish himself and his role on the Warriors. But just looking at him among the other players, it's going to be tough for him just to get minutes. He has to go out and earn minutes. I would agree with that. Vicky says, the 49ers coach has a lot of those losses. Yeah. Inexplicable. The GOAT says, I don't get why the Warriors front office doesn't trade those players that they have on their last contracts. But give me a name. Those players, I don't know who that is. Who? Because the NBA is so different. You got to match salaries and, basketball is the type of sport because there's so few players. Basketball players, especially with contracts, need to be cultural fits. They can come in and really wreck your organization. You don't want that. You don't. I'm not going to mention any names, but there's some big-time players who were begging for contracts that nobody would trade for because the word was out on them for whatever reason. And teams didn't want to touch them. That's kind of how it works. The information is out there. All right. I'm going to do my thing and get out of here, y'all. This has been fun. Thank you for participating in the Dungeon Show. And you guys know I'm going to do a show again on next Sunday. Maybe I'll sneak in throughout the week. I don't know. I will figure it out. Success in getting paid is a manifestation of the whole process. If you as an individual don't do things to help other people make their lives better, as far as I'm concerned, you haven't done nothing. My name is Frank Red, and I want to thank you all once again for checking me out in the Dungeon Show. Everybody have a fantastic week. Peace. Good night.